Hey everyone, so today we're tackling something huge. It's a dream that promises total freedom, but it might come with a hidden and really heavy price. We're going to explore the dark side of the FIRE movement, the side people don't often talk about.
And that right there, that's the siren song our source material talks about. It's this powerful, almost magnetic pull to just leave the working world behind decades before anyone else. And you know what? It's an idea that is capturing the imagination of millions.
All right, so let's get into it. To really get why this can be a trap, we first got to understand the dream itself. Why is this idea of retiring super early so incredibly seductive to so many of us right now? Yeah, for anyone who's maybe not in the loop, FIRE just stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. It's a whole lifestyle movement built around a very clear, very tempting goal. You save and invest like crazy so you can be financially independent and stop working for a living way ahead of schedule.
And I mean, come on, the promises are incredible, right? It's this vision of just ditching the daily grind, finally escaping that 9-to-5 hamster wheel and getting to live life completely on your own terms. Who wouldn't want a world filled with travel and hobbies, with all the free time you could ever want, all paid for by a portfolio that's just doing the work for you?
But here's a really interesting take from our source material. It calls this whole thing a spreadsheet fantasy, a triumph of pure logic and discipline. The popular narrative is almost always about the numbers, the savings rates, the mechanics of it all, while totally ignoring the messy human part of the equation.
And this is the magic number. This is pretty much the holy grail for a ton of people in the FIRE community. The goal is to build up a nest egg that's 25 times what you spend in a year. Once you hit that number, boom. In theory, you can live off your investments forever. That's the finish line.
But, and this is a huge but, here's where the story takes a sharp turn. Our source material really makes us ask a tough question. What if this perfectly calculated dream is just a mirage? What are the hidden costs of sprinting to that finish line?
So how exactly does this perfect picture start to crack? Well, it all begins with the first massive hidden cost, the social sacrifice you have to make to get there.
And our source is really blunt about this. We're not just talking about skipping your daily coffee here. For a lot of people on the extreme end of FIRE, it's described as a relentless campaign of sacrifice. It's about fundamentally changing your entire life to serve this one single goal.
Just think about what that actually looks like, day to day. Those Friday night drinks with your buddies? Too expensive. That spontaneous weekend getaway with your partner? Sorry, not in the budget. Even something as simple as a nice dinner out gets totally reframed. It's not a pleasure anymore, it's a future expense, something that's literally costing you your freedom.
And what happens is this huge gap starts to open up. While your friends are out there building memories, having these shared experiences that, make up a life, you're at home building what the source calls a fortress of cash. You slowly become the person who always says no.
So you see the point here, right? All those little no's, they add up. The argument is that the human connections, the very things that make life rich and meaningful, can end up being the first casualties in this war for early retirement. The social fabric of your life just starts to come apart.
Okay, but let's say you do it. You hit the number, you retire. All the stress is gone, right? Well, maybe not. Our next section gets into how retiring early can actually create a whole new kind of psychological prison.
Because the second you quit your job, this new fear starts to creep in. And the source calls it insidious. It's the fear of the market tanking. All of a sudden, every news headline about a recession isn't just background noise. It's a direct threat to your entire life. Your security is 100% tied to the whims of the stock market.
I mean, how wild is that? Is this incredibly ironic twist? You spend years, maybe even decades, plotting this grand escape from the tyranny of your boss, only to become a slave to the market. The freedom you wanted so badly can turn into a constant state of low-grade anxiety.
But it goes even deeper than the money. There's this huge question, a really personal one. For so many of us, our jobs are a huge part of our identity. So when you take that away, what's left? When you're not working, who are you?
See, when you leave your job, you're not just losing a paycheck. You're losing your purpose, your daily structure, and a built-in social circle. Our source argues that this leaves this massive void in your life, a void that all the money in the world just can't fill. Watching your brokerage account go up is a pretty cold comfort when you're missing a real sense of purpose and connection.
Okay, so after digging into all these potential pitfalls, our final section here is all about a different way forward. This isn't about giving up on your financial goals, not at all. It's about finding a healthier, more balanced path to get there.
And I think this quote really gets to the absolute heart of the matter. It totally reframes the entire goal. It suggests that real freedom isn't about escaping your life. It's about building a life that is so good, so fulfilling, that you don't feel that desperate urge to run away from it in the first place.
So what does that actually look like in practice? Well, the source lays out a much more sustainable path. First, you save and invest responsibly. Of course, that's a given. But at the same time, you consciously invest in experiences and in your relationships with people you love. And this is critical. You work to build a career that actually means something to you. So your work becomes a source of fulfillment, not just a cage you're trying to break out of.
And in the end, it really all comes down to this one simple question. The goal of financial independence? It's a great goal, no doubt. But what our source material is really challenging us to do is ask ourselves, before we go all in on some extreme path, what is the real price of your happiness? Because the scary truth might be that the cost of retiring early is everything that actually makes you happy right now.